We do have some breaking news into CNN. Despite bipartisan criticism, the Pentagon says it has accepted that Boeing 747 jet from Qatar and that President Trump will use it once it has been modified. Trump has been pitching this as a replacement to Air Force One. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is live from the Pentagon. Natasha, what are you hearing? And talk about some of the various concerns about the president taking this plane.
Yeah, Brianna, we're just getting this news in from the chief Pentagon spokesman, Sean Parnell, who's told CNN in a statement that, quote, the Secretary of Defense has accepted this Boeing 747 from Qatar in accordance with all federal rules and regulations. He said that the Department of Defense will work to ensure proper security measures and functional mission requirements are considered for an aircraft used to transport the President of the United States. Now, that really gets to the heart of the controversy over this, not only the possibility at this point that this is going to be gifted by Qatar to the Trump administration instead of purchased by the Trump administration, which raises all kinds of ethical questions, but also the fact that being given an aircraft by a foreign government for the President of the United States to use is very dicey, to say the least, and it's going to require extensive modifications to the aircraft before President Trump can even safely use it. And to that end, the Air Force did tell us in a statement that they're preparing to award a contract to a contractor, to a defense contractor, to begin the modifications on this aircraft that will be necessary before President Trump can use it as a kind of temporary Air Force One. Now, we should note that this has, as you mentioned, been mired in controversy for weeks, ever since it emerged that the Trump administration was in these conversations with Qatar about accepting this luxury jet, because President Trump has really been frustrated by the pace of Boeing's construction of two jets that were going to be the new Air Force One to replace the very aging model that exists right now. And so the Trump administration began reaching out and exploring other options. One of those options was this jet that Qatar has been trying to sell. But again, there are still so many questions here. And in fact, a person familiar with the matter kind of poured cold water on the idea that this is going to happen immediately, saying that, look, all of the talks about this transfer are still ongoing. There are a number of legal issues that still need to be worked out here, Brianna.
Yeah, and to get it in operational shape to be an Air Force One will take considerable time and expense. We'll see that. Natasha Bertrand from the Pentagon, thank you so much.
So was it a gift or a request? There are new questions about that $400 million plane that Qatar is apparently prepared to hand over to President Trump as a replacement for Air Force One. Here's what the president has said about how this offer came about.
If I wanted to, I could, hurt Boeing, and I don't want to hurt Boeing. But they are very late with the plane, and Qatar heard about it, and he's a great leader. And we were talking, and he said, if I can help you, let me do that. And they had a plane.
So Qatar heard about it. The president's narrative on how all of this happened is now in dispute because 4 sources familiar with the discussions tell CNN that it was actually Trump's team that first approached Qatar about acquiring a 747 that could be used as Air Force One. CNN Chief National Security Correspondent Alex Marquardt joins us now with the details. What are these sources telling us?
So, as you heard there from Trump, in his telling, it's Qatar that came to him with this offer. What we've actually been told is Trump came into office in January, and not long after that, the Pentagon went to Boeing asking for an update on the new Air Force Ones that are expected in the near future. There are 2 of them. They were told that they wouldn't be delivered until 2027. You can hear there President Trump rather impatient. So what Boeing did was present the Pentagon with a list of planes that could work as a substitute, and that Qatari plane was on there. And so the Pentagon, with the White House's backing, went to Qatar and said, we're willing to consider buying this. And the Qataris said, well, we're willing to consider selling this to you. Simultaneously, Boris, Steve Witkoff, the president's Middle East envoy, he had also been asked to put together a possible list of planes. He's the Middle East envoy, so he helped facilitate these meetings. So this started as a conversation about some sort of transaction, a lease or a sale. But as you can tell, it's evolved. We've heard President Trump talk about a gesture, a contribution. Once on Truth Social, he wrote that this would be a gift that was free of charge. Now, this may end up being a contribution for which the U.S. pays thing, but it's a lot more nuanced, and it really was, from what we're hearing, not Qatar that kicked this off, but the U.S. that reached out to them.
Theoretically, U.S. taxpayers would be paying something to retrofit this thing because there are security concerns. It would have to be taken apart and put back together. What would be the timeline for all of this?
Not just something, but quite a bit, and it could be several times the actual value of the plane. We've spoken to current and former officials who have said that this could take as much as 2 years to overhaul this plane. They essentially have to strip it down to the bones to make sure that there are no listening devices or other security threats on there. Then they have to rebuild it. They have to put all the technical and security specs on there that would be required of a presidential plane. You'd have security, law enforcement, spy agencies involved in rebuilding this. So that could take up to 2 years. It could take many times the value of the plane. We believe the plane's worth around $200 million. It's been reported around 400. So it could take a long time, a lot of money, which may end up not being worth it. So this deal, we're told, still being hashed out. It would be the Qatari Ministry of Defense that would be giving or selling it to the U.S. Defense Department, but it's still very much not a done deal yet.
Great reporting, Alex Morcourt. Thank you so much.
3连关注，点赞也行。